Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today you've brought us a story titled Die 12 Brüder, or The 12 Brothers. And it's a narrative that, well, it immediately pulls you in with its powerful themes of family, sacrifice, and dramatic transformation. We've got this compelling tale of a king, a queen, and their 12 sons, and a rather extreme royal decree that sets everything in motion.
It's a classic opening to a story, isn't it? You know, a royal family facing a pivotal moment, 12 sons already, yet the king's desire for something specific, a daughter, an heir, creates an immediate tension and foreshadows significant upheaval.
Exactly. So our mission for you today is to really get to the heart of this story. We want to explore the key events, understand what motivates these characters to act as they do, and maybe even touch on some of the deeper resonances within this narrative.
Yeah.
We're aiming for those insightful nuggets without getting lost in a sea of minor details. Okay, let's unpack this. It kicks off with a pretty intense declaration from the king, right?
It does. The king makes it known that he desperately wants a 13th child to be a daughter, and not just any daughter, but his sole heir. It raises an immediate question. Why this singular focus on a female heir when he already has 12 sons? Perhaps the story hints at concerns about succession, the distribution of power, or even, traditional inheritance practices of the time.
And his plan to ensure this is quite brutal. If the queen gives birth to a girl, the 12 sons are to be, well, eliminated.
Yeah.
It's a stark choice, to say the least.
Yeah.
What does such an extreme decree at the very outset tell us about the world this story inhabits, or perhaps the king's character?
Well, it certainly establishes a high-stakes environment and portrays a ruler willing to make incredibly harsh decisions to secure his desired outcome. This ruthlessness could be interpreted in a few ways. Is it purely selfish ambition, or could there be underlying societal pressures or beliefs about the importance of a direct female heir that contribute to this extreme measure?
That's a good question.
It's a question the story leaves us to ponder. And to prepare for this possibility, the king orders 12 coffins to be made.
Right, and it's a particularly grim detail that these coffins are already prepared with wood shavings and pillows. It's not just about death, it's almost like a ready-made burial arrangement.
It adds a layer of chilling predetermination to the king's plan. It's not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but a calculated and prepared action. And the queen, as you mentioned, is sworn to secrecy, burdened with this horrific knowledge, and the key to the room where these coffins are hidden.
Yeah. Imagine the isolation and fear she must have felt.
Absolutely.
Her sorrow doesn't go unnoticed, though, especially by her youngest son, Benjamin, who seems particularly attuned to her emotional state. The fact that it's the youngest who perceives her grief, is that a common thread in folklore, this sensitivity in the youngest child?
It can be. Often in folklore, the youngest child, perhaps initially underestimated, possesses a certain wisdom or insight that the others lack. They might be more observant or have a closer bond with a parent due to their position in the family.
Okay.
In this case, Benjamin's concern and persistence are what ultimately lead to the revelation of the king's plan. And instead of despair, Benjamin's reaction is to comfort his mother and immediately think of a solution. They must escape.
Right. This proactive response from the youngest is interesting. As you said, it immediately positions him as a key figure, not just a passive recipient of events.
Exactly.
So the queen, despite the danger, helps her 11 older sons flee into the forest and sets up this signal system with the flags.
The flags, yeah. The color of the flag becomes a life or death message. White for a son's birth, signaling it's safe to return. Red, the color of blood, signifying a daughter and their impending doom, urging them to flee further and trust in providence.
Wow.
It's a stark visual representation of hope and terror.
So the brothers take refuge in the woods, constantly watching for that signal. For 11 long days, one of them is always on lookout. Then it's Benjamin's turn, and he sees the flag. Not the white one they hoped for, but the dreaded red.
That moment of seeing the red flag must have been terrifying. Just awful. It confirms their deepest fears and sets in motion their subsequent actions, driven by a potent mix of fear and anger.
And their reaction is a vow, a rather violent one, born out of this fear and a sense of injustice. They swear to kill any girl they encounter.
Eve.
This oath seems like a crucial element that will create significant conflict later on. What's the significance of such a harsh vow made in this moment of crisis?
It highlights the extreme emotional state of the brothers. Feeling betrayed by their father and threatened with death simply for existing as males, their vow is a manifestation of their rage and their desire to protect themselves in the only way they can conceive at that moment. It's an impulsive reaction fueled by desperation, but as you said, it creates a major obstacle for any future reconciliation with a potential sister.
Definitely sets up future drama. So they find an abandoned cottage deep in the forest, a seemingly enchanted place. This becomes their hideout.
Right.
And Benjamin, being the youngest, takes on the role of managing the household while the 11 older brothers hunt. It's an interesting reversal of traditional roles within a family, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The youngest, often seen as the least capable physically, takes on the crucial role of maintaining their home and preparing food. This could suggest a different kind of strength, perhaps in resourcefulness or domestic skills, or it might simply be a practical necessity given the need for the others to focus on providing sustenance.
Makes sense.
They lived this way for 10 years, a significant stretch of time in isolation.
10 years. Wow. 10 years of living in the wilderness, completely cut off from their previous lives. It really emphasizes the impact of the king's decree. But back at the castle, a new chapter begins with the birth of the sister, marked by this striking detail, a golden star on her forehead. What might that signify in the context of folklore?
Well, a golden star or similar birthmarks often signify something special about the child, a destiny, a magical connection, or even a sign of royalty or divine favor.
Okay.
It immediately sets her apart and hints that she has a unique role to play in the unfolding events. As she grows, a seemingly small discovery brings her brothers back into the picture.
Right. During laundry, she notices these 12 men's shirts that are far too small for her father.
Yeah, the tiny shirts.
This sparks her curiosity, and she starts asking her mother questions.
And the queen, after years of keeping the secret, finally reveals the truth about her 12 lost sons, explaining the king's decree and their miraculous escape. The daughter, understandably, is driven by a desire to know more, to find these brothers she never knew.
And the queen eventually shows her the hidden coffins, the tangible evidence of the danger her brothers faced.
A powerful moment.
And the daughter's reaction isn't fear, but a determined resolve to find them. She even takes those 12 shirts with her. What's the symbolism of her taking the shirts?
The shirts act as a physical link to her brothers, representing her connection to them and her commitment to restoring their family. It's a tangible piece of their past that she carries into her future journey to find them.
Ah.
Her journey, of course, leads her into the same forest where her brothers have been living in isolation.
And after searching, she finally arrives at the enchanted cottage and meets Benjamin. Their initial encounter is quite striking. This young woman in royal attire with a star on her forehead meeting the brother she's never known.
Yeah, imagine that. The recognition fueled by the sight of the 12 shirts is immediate and emotional. It's a powerful moment of reunion, but as we know, their joy is quickly overshadowed by the existence of that deadly vow.
Right, that vow.
Benjamin has to tell her about the promise his brothers made in their rage.
And her response is incredibly selfless. She's willing to sacrifice herself for their safety, highlighting the depth of her love and loyalty.
It's amazing, really. But Benjamin, showing that resourceful side again, comes up with a plan to hide her.
Under a tub.
He hides her under a large tub, yeah. A very practical and immediate solution to a dangerous situation, promising to speak to his brothers and hopefully persuade them before they encounter her unexpectedly.
Okay, good thinking. So when the 11 brothers return from hunting, Benjamin waits for the right moment, during their meal, to broach the subject.
Yeah.
He cleverly hints that he has some important news.
He creates a sense of anticipation, suggesting that his position at home has given him knowledge they lack. Naturally, their curiosity is piqued, and they press him for information.
And this is when Benjamin extracts their promise. He makes them swear an oath not to harm the first girl they meet before revealing that the girl is their own sister.
Very clever.
It's a clever way to circumvent their earlier vow.
It is. By getting them to agree beforehand, he diffuses the potential for immediate violence driven by their initial fear and anger. The reveal itself must have been incredibly dramatic. He lifts the tub, and there stands their sister, the golden star, a clear identifier.
And the brothers' reaction is a complete turnaround. Their anger vanishes, replaced by overwhelming joy and affection.
Instantly.
They embrace her, welcoming her into their lives after so many years of separation.
This highlights the power of familial bonds to overcome even deeply held anger and fear. With the threat removed and the realization that this is their sister, their protective instincts likely kicked in.
So a period of peace follows.
Yeah, a period of peace and harmony follows. The sister stays with Benjamin, sharing the household duties, and the 11 brothers continue to provide for them.
And then A seemingly innocent act triggers another dramatic shift. The sister, wanting to show her affection, picks 12 lilies from the garden.
Oh.
The text also mentions they're called students. Is there any significance to this dual name?
Well, the term students associated with the lilies could suggest a connection to youth, learning, or perhaps even a sense of potential or transformation. Lilies themselves often carry symbolic weight, representing purity, innocence, or even death and rebirth in different contexts. The act of picking them, however well-intentioned, unleashes a powerful magic.
Instantly, the 12 brothers are transformed into 12 ravens and fly away. The cottage and garden vanish, leaving them just alone once more.
Wow.
It's a sudden and devastating turn of events.
It underscores the volatile nature of magic and folklore, often unpredictable and easily triggered by seemingly innocuous actions. The transformation into ravens, birds often associated with omens, or even negative connotations in some cultures suggests a significant setback. And then the appearance of the old woman provides an explanation.
Ah, the mysterious old woman. She reveals that the lilies were indeed her brothers in their transformed state, and that the curse is now upon them.
Right.
But she offers a single, incredibly difficult path to break it. 7 years of complete silence. Not a single word or laugh. The stakes couldn't be higher.
7 years. 7 years of silence is a monumental task, a test of endurance and willpower. The consequence of failure, the permanent death of her brothers, emphasizes the severity of the curse and the immense sacrifice required of the sister. Her immediate resolve to undertake this task speaks volumes about her dedication.
Incredible. She finds a tall tree and begins her silent vigil, spinning and never uttering a sound or a laugh for years. It's an extraordinary display of determination.
Absolutely.
Years pass, and then a king, hunting in the forest, discovers her.
The encounter is almost serendipitous, guided by the king's hunting dog. He's immediately captivated by her silent beauty and the unusual golden star on her forehead.
Right.
Her silence, rather than deterring him, seems to intrigue him.
He proposes marriage, and she, bound by her vow of silence, can only nod in agreement.
Just a nod.
He takes her back to his kingdom, and they have a grand wedding. Yet she remains silent and unsmiling throughout.
Their life together is marked by this unusual dynamic. A king with a beautiful but mute queen. While the initial fascination might have been strong, this silence inevitably breeds suspicion in others, particularly the king's mother, who is depicted as a malevolent figure.
Ah, the evil mother-in-law trope.
Yeah.
She begins to spread vicious rumors, accusing the young queen of being a beggar, secretly doing wicked things, and interpreting her silence as a sign of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic portrayal of a jealous and manipulative antagonist.
These are common accusations leveled against unjustly persecuted heroines in fairy tales. The mother-in-law plays on the king's potential insecurities and societal prejudices, leading him down a path of doubt and ultimately to a tragic decision.
So tragic.
Sadly, he succumbs to his mother's lies and sentences his own wife to death.
No. A pyre is prepared for her execution. It's a heartbreaking moment, especially knowing the sacrifice she has made.
Awful.
But just as the flames begin to touch her clothes, the 7 years of silence end. What a dramatic turning point.
The timing is crucial, heightening the suspense. The end of her silence is marked by a distinct sound whirring in the air and then the arrival of 12 ravens descending from the sky.
The brothers.
Yes. And in a miraculous moment, as they touch the ground, the ravens transform back into her 12 brothers. They immediately extinguish the flame, saving their sister at the last possible second.
My goodness. It's the resolution of the curse, brought about by the sister's unwavering commitment to her vow.
Exactly. Finally able to speak, she can explain the reason for her long silence to the astonished king, clearing her name and revealing the truth.
The king, understandably, rejoices in her innocence and the return of her brothers. Their family is finally whole again, and they live together in peace.
A happy ending, mostly.
Mostly, yeah. Because the story doesn't leave the villain unpunished. The evil mother-in-law meets a truly gruesome end.
Oh, yeah. The punishment fits the cruelty of her actions, placed in a barrel filled with boiling oil and venomous snakes. It's a stark reminder of the consequences for those who perpetrate malice and injustice in these tales.
Definitely a harsh ending for her. So as we conclude our deep dive into the 12 brothers, what are some of the key insights that stand out for you? We've seen the domino effect of that initial royal decree, the incredible resilience of this family, and the immense power of sibling love.
Absolutely. The story powerfully illustrates how a single decision, especially one driven by Societal pressures or personal desires taken to an extreme can have profound and lasting consequences for an entire family. It also underscores the enduring strength of familial bonds, the sacrifices individuals are willing to make for their loved ones, and the eventual triumph of perseverance and good over adversity.
Thinking back to when you first encountered this story, what resonated most with you about the weight of the king's initial decree? How did that one decision ripple through everything that followed?
Well, it really highlights the potential for a ruler's personal biases and desires to inflict widespread suffering. The story serves as a kind of cautionary tale about the responsibilities that come with power and the importance of considering the impact of decisions on others. It makes you think about how seemingly isolated choices can set in motion a chain of events that no one can fully predict or control.
That's a great point. And consider the rich symbolism woven throughout this narrative. The colors of the flags, the mysterious nature of the lilies, and their connection to the transformation, the significant 7 years of silence. What other interpretations might these elements hold?
Oh, there are so many layers.
Right. This story, well, presented as a classic fairy tale, really offers layers of meaning that invite deeper reflection long after our conversation ends.